I never thought I'd be writing something like this, but here I am. My name's Jake, and I just found out some crazy, gut-wrenching stuff about my wife, Lisa. We've been together for about 4 years, engaged for the last year, and I honestly thought we were solid. She seemed perfect, smart, funny, a bit bitchy sometimes, but I loved that about her. We had plans, a wedding set for next month. Everything was looking like it was finally coming together. But then last weekend happened. We were supposed to go to her cousin's wedding, but she told me she had to go on a business trip instead, said she had a big project at her company. She's a marketing executive, so I figured it was some late nights or client meetings. I didn't think much of it at first. She's always busy, always working late, and I'd gotten used to her disappearing for days at a time. But I started noticing little things, texts that seemed a little too casual, her phone always locked, hiding her screen when I'd walk into the room. Small stuff, but enough to raise my suspicion a little. Then on Sunday, I got back from work. Early, I was tired, just wanted to relax and maybe watch some TV, but as I was walking past her purse on the couch, something caught my eye. A little lip gloss, a lipstick that I didn't recognize, and a faint scent of perfume I didn't remember her wearing. I've always been pretty observant, and I've learned to pay attention to her habits. Something was off. I decided to dig a little. I checked her phone right there, quick swipe, no passcode because she always says not a secretive person, but I saw messages that made my stomach drop. There were texts from a guy named Mark, her boss. They weren't just work-related, not by a long shot. The language was flirty, suggestive, and as I scrolled, I saw they'd been talking about meeting up, about keeping things quiet, about her needing a break from all the stress. The last message was a confession. She said she was so exhausted but also so turned on, and that she couldn't wait to see him again. My heart just stopped. I didn't even know what to feel at that moment. Shock, anger, disgust. It was all rushing in at once. I didn't sleep that night. I kept rereading the messages, trying to find some thread of her trying to deny it or explain, but there was nothing. Just her admitting she'd slept with her boss, that it meant nothing to her, that she was just having fun, and that they'd keep it between themselves. I knew then and there that everything I thought I knew about her was a lie. She'd been lying to my face, pretending to be this caring, honest woman when she was out there sleeping with her boss, the guy whose office she'd claimed was strictly professional. I wanted to confront her right then, but I also knew it wasn't going to be easy. She denied everything before whenever I'd had doubts, brushing me off with some bitchy comment about how I was being paranoid or that I was overthinking. But this was different. I had proof, cold and clear. But I also knew she was a master at lying, and I wasn't sure what her reaction would be. Would she break down? Would she blame me? Or would she just get angry and start throwing her usual barbs? I wasn't sure. All I knew was that I had to talk to her, and I had to do it soon. The next morning was a nightmare. I woke up before her, restless, mind racing. I couldn't believe I was about to confront her with everything I'd found, with proof of her betrayal. I kept going over what I'd say, how I'd handle her bitchy attitude, and how I'd keep myself from losing control. The thought of her lying, denying, trying to manipulate her way out of it made my blood boil. But I knew I had to face her face to face, no matter how much I wanted to avoid it. When she finally got out of bed, she looked tired, maybe a little guilty, but her usual sharp attitude was still there. She tried to act normal, asking if I was okay, pretending like nothing had changed. I couldn't hold back anymore. I looked her straight in the eyes and said, "Lisa, I know everything. I read your messages. You slept with your boss, didn't you?" Her face froze for a second. There was that flicker of annoyance, that bitchy smirk she always threw up when she thought she was better than everyone else. "What are you talking about, Jake? You're imagining things, you're just paranoid. I told you I was working late last weekend. Maybe you're just insecure." I felt my fists clench. "Don't give me that. I saw the messages. The ones where you're telling him you're so turned on and that you need a break from the stress. Don't try to lie your way out of this. I want the truth." She rolled her eyes, crossing her arms. "Look, I don't know what you're trying to accuse me of, but I swear I haven't slept with anyone. Maybe you're just overreacting because you're insecure, like I said. It's easy for guys to get jealous, but honestly, I don't have time for your accusations." That was the moment I realized she was just going to keep lying. She was so used to getting her way, spinning her stories, that she thought she could brush this off like any other petty argument. But I wasn't buying it. I felt a mixture of anger, betrayal, and a deep sadness I couldn't explain. How did we get here? How did the woman I loved turn into someone capable of lying so blatantly? I wanted to scream, to tell her how much she'd hurt me, but I held back. Instead, I told her I needed time to think, and I left the apartment for a walk, trying to clear my head. Walking outside, I couldn't help but feel the sting of betrayal. I kept replaying her words, her dismissiveness, her laugh like this was nothing. I felt like a fool, trusting her, building a future with her, only to find out she'd been sleeping with her boss, someone she supposedly respected and worked for. The thought of her in bed with him, the idea that she pretended to be so innocent around me while secretly hiding that part of herself, made me sick. That whole day was a blur. I avoided my phone, avoided her calls, but I knew I couldn't avoid the truth forever. I kept wondering what her excuses would be, what bullshit she'd come up with to justify her actions. I already knew her typical pattern: denial, blame shifting, acting like I was the problem. I wasn't surprised she's a bitch when she's backed into a corner, but I never thought she'd be this manipulative. By evening, I was exhausted emotionally. I kept asking myself how I missed the signs, how I didn't see this coming. I'd always thought she was a little bitchy, sure, but I never suspected she'd cheat, especially not on the verge of our wedding. I'd been planning this for months, and now it felt like everything was falling apart. I didn't know if I should be furious, heartbroken, or just give up altogether. All I knew was I had to decide what to do next, and I couldn't do it while she was still acting like the innocent victim. That night I decided I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay, even if it felt like my world was crumbling. I sat her down again, this time more determined, more pissed off. I looked her dead in the eyes and said, "Lisa, I know you've been lying. Don't try to deny it anymore. I read your messages. I know you slept with him. How could you do this just days before our wedding?" She looked annoyed, like I was wasting her time. She scoffed and rolled her eyes. "Jake, you really think I slept with him? You're so paranoid. You're just jealous because I've been working late and you're imagining things. Maybe you're the one with issues, not me." I couldn't believe how she was still trying to spin it. I felt my patience running out. "You don't get to lie your way out of this. I saw what you wrote. You're telling me you're innocent, that you didn't sleep with your boss last weekend. That's bullshit. I saw the messages. I know you're lying, and honestly, I don't even recognize you anymore." Her face twisted into that bitchy, dismissive look she always put on when she was trying to control a situation. "You're overreacting, Jake. Maybe I should be the one asking you where you've been all this time, huh? I've been working my ass off for this wedding, and I get accused of sleeping with my boss. That's just ridiculous. Maybe I should just call it off if you're going to be this paranoid and insecure." That hit me harder than I expected. Her words, her attitude, like she was the victim, like I was the one invading her life. She was already trying to gaslight me, make me doubt what I saw, what I knew. It was infuriating. I felt the rage bubble up, but beneath that there was a deep hurt. I'd trusted her, loved her, and now I was questioning everything. I told her, "You're not going to gaslight me. I know what happened. I have the proof. If you're so innocent, then why did you lie? Why did you hide something so big? I'm done listening to your bullshit. I want the truth or I'm gone." She snapped back, "Fine. If that's how you feel, then go. I don't need this drama. I've got a career, a life, and I don't need a guy questioning me about every little thing. If you really think I cheated, then maybe we're better off apart." That was when I realized she was really going to push me away, that she was more committed to protecting her own lie than facing the reality of what she'd done. I felt my stomach turn. The woman I loved, the woman I was supposed to marry, she was throwing everything away because she didn't want to admit the truth. I couldn't keep pretending that her excuses mattered. I saw her for who she was: cold, manipulative, and willing to lie her way out of everything, even if it meant losing me. I told her I needed some space to think, to breathe, to figure out what I wanted. I told her I wasn't going to be a fool anymore, that I deserved honesty and respect. and I left her standing there furious, acting like she was the victim. Honestly, I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. My trust was shattered. I didn't know if I could fix this or if I even wanted to try anymore. All I knew was that I had to get out of that apartment, clear my head, and figure out what the hell I was supposed to do next. The days that followed were like a bad dream I couldn't wake up from. I stayed away from her apartment, avoided her calls and texts, but the thoughts kept swirling in my head. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her smirk, her dismissive attitude, the way she lied so effortlessly. It felt like my entire world had been turned upside down, and I didn't even recognize the woman I was supposed to marry anymore. I spent hours pondering my options. Part of me wanted to scream, to break everything, to confront her again and demand the full truth. But another part, smaller, quieter, knew that whatever I said or did, she'd just spin it to her advantage. That bitchy side of her was always good at twisting the narrative, making herself the victim, even when she was dead wrong. I realized I couldn't trust her anymore, not completely. Maybe I never truly did, but now it was undeniable. One thing was clear: I couldn't stay silent. I had to get to the bottom of this for my own peace of mind, so I did some digging. I went to her office, called some of her coworkers, and found out she'd been acting weird for a while. She'd been very secretive about her phone, always taking calls in private, leaving for meetings that turned out to be nothing but her sneaking off to meet Mark. I got confirmation that she'd been seeing him, that they'd been sneaking around for weeks, probably longer. I just never wanted to see it. That realization hit me like a punch to the chest. All those times I thought she was just busy with work or stressed out, she was actually lying to my face. She'd been hiding her affair from everyone, even me. Somehow I'd been so blind, so naive. The girl I thought I knew had turned into a liar, a cheat, someone I didn't recognize anymore. And I felt furious, betrayed, and heartbroken all at once. I knew I couldn't just sit around feeling sorry for myself. I had to confront her again, face her bitchy attitude, and get some answers, real answers. When I went back to her place that evening, I was prepared for whatever she threw at me. I saw her sitting on the couch, looking annoyed when I entered, arms crossed, that same dismissive look on her face. I didn't waste any time. I told her, I know everything. I know about Mark, about you sneaking around, about everything you've lied about. I saw the messages. I know you slept with him, and I know you've been lying from the start. So just be honest with me. What the hell is going on? Her eyes narrowed and she scoffed. Jake, you're overreacting. You're jealous, insecure, and you're making a big deal out of nothing. I was working late, I told you that. You're making this up in your head. I shook my head, feeling the rage boil over. No, Lisa, I saw your messages. I saw what you wrote to him. You slept with your boss and you're trying to deny it because you think you can manipulate me. Well, it's not going to work anymore. I'm done being a fool for you. Her bitchy smirk turned into a sneer. You're such a drama queen, Jake. You always blow things out of proportion. Maybe you're the one who's got issues. Maybe you're just mad because I didn't want to stay with a guy who's so insecure and controlling. Honestly, I don't even know why I married you. That cut deep. Her words, her attitude. She was already turning this around on me, making me out to be the bad guy. I felt my fists clench again, but I also felt that terrible ache of sadness. I loved her, or at least I thought I did. But now I saw who she really was. Someone selfish, manipulative, and willing to throw everything away over a stupid affair. I told her I couldn't be with someone like that. I said I needed time, space, to think about what I wanted. I told her I deserved honesty, respect, and someone who wouldn't lie and cheat behind my back. She just rolled her eyes, acting all high and mighty like she was the victim, and I walked out. I left her standing there, still bitchy, still trying to act like she was the one wronged. That night I lay in bed awake, staring at the ceiling, trying to process everything. I felt betrayed on every level, by her, by our relationship, by myself for not seeing it sooner. I didn't know if I could forgive her or if I even wanted to. The trust was gone. The woman I loved was now just a stranger in my mind. But one thing was clear. I had to decide what to do next, and I couldn't keep living in this fog of lies and betrayal. The following days were a blur of confusion and anger. I tried to keep my distance from Lisa, but it was impossible to avoid thinking about her every waking moment. Everywhere I looked, I saw reminders of the girl I once loved, her laughing face, her bitchy smirk, the way she used to look at me with affection. Now all I saw was a woman who had lied and cheated, a woman who had no respect for me or what we were supposed to have. I started to think about what I really wanted. Was there any way to fix this? Could she even be the woman I thought I knew? Or was she just someone I had to accept as a stranger who had betrayed me so deeply? I couldn't help but feel the pain boiling inside me, the betrayal cutting so deep I wondered if I'd ever recover. One night I decided I couldn't just sit around feeling sorry for myself. I had to face her one more time, get some answers, or maybe just get closure. When I walked into her apartment, she was sitting on the sofa, her usual bitchy attitude in full display. She looked annoyed, like I was bothering her, but I was beyond caring. I needed to hear her say the truth, or at least her version of it. I sat down across from her and looked her in the eyes. "Lisa, I need to know why. Why did you do it? Why did you sleep with your boss? Were you even planning to tell me? Or was this just some game for you?" She scoffed and crossed her arms. "You really want to know? Fine, here's the truth, because you're so damn insecure, so controlling, I couldn't take it anymore. I needed some excitement, some real passion. Mark's just a guy who gave me that, and I didn't think it mattered. I was just having sex, Jake. It doesn't mean anything. I never wanted to hurt you, but I also wasn't about to give up my life for some boring marriage." Her words hit me like a punch. Boring marriage? She didn't care about us. She didn't care about the vows or the future we planned. All she cared about was her own selfish needs, her own thrilling lies. I felt my stomach turn, my mind reeling. How could she be so cold, so dismissive? I looked at her and said, "So you're telling me this was just some meaningless fun, that you slept with him because you were bored, that's all it was?" She rolled her eyes again. "Exactly. Get over it. Honestly, I don't see what the big deal is. You're acting like I cheated on you with some stranger. Mark is just my boss, a guy I work for. It's not like I'm in love with him or anything. It was sex, Jake, that's all. And now I regret telling you because I see how crazy you're acting about it." I felt my hands tighten into fists. How could she say that? How could she dismiss what she did as just sex? That was the most hurtful part, that she could be so callous about it, so indifferent to my feelings. She was already rewiring the story, turning herself into the victim, twisting her betrayal into some kind of excuse. I realized then that trying to get her to see reason was pointless. She wasn't going to take responsibility. She was going to keep lying, keep playing her victim card. I knew I had to make a decision, whether to fight for this relationship or cut my losses and walk away. And honestly, deep inside, I was leaning towards walking away. I couldn't stay with someone who had no respect for me, who thought sex with her boss was just a fun distraction. But I also felt a strange mix of heartbreak and anger. This wasn't just about the betrayal. It was about what I lost, what I thought we had. I'd been so sure she was the one, and now I was questioning everything, even myself. How did I miss all the signs? How long had this been going on? And most of all, how do I move forward from this kind of betrayal? I didn't have an answer yet, but I knew it was coming. I just had to decide if I was strong enough to walk away, or if I was going to try and fix something that might already be beyond repair. After that night, I knew my mind was made up. I couldn't stay with her, not after everything. The trust was completely broken, and I realized that I deserved more than just some sex-driven lie from someone I thought loved me. I packed my things quietly, not even bothering to confront her again. The silence in the apartment was deafening, the air heavy with all the unspoken pain and betrayal. Leaving was one of the hardest things I've done. I felt like I was ripping apart my own heart. I saw her bitchy smirk as I walked out the door, and I couldn't help but wonder if she even cared. Did she feel guilty? Did she regret what she'd done? Or was she already moving on to her next lie, her next game? Honestly, I didn't think I'd ever truly understand her. She was just too manipulative, too selfish. I moved out and into a friend's place, trying to get some distance from the chaos. It's been tough. I go through waves of anger, sadness, and even embarrassment. I keep asking myself how I let her get away with this, how I didn't see what was happening sooner. But the truth is, I was blinded by love. I wanted her to be perfect, and I ignored every warning sign. Now I see her for what she really is, A selfish, bitchy woman who thought she could lie her way out of anything. Looking back, I realize I've learned a lot from this. I learned that trust is fragile, and once it's broken, it's almost impossible to repair. I learned that some people, no matter how much you love them, will always put themselves first. And I learned that I need to prioritize myself now, my feelings, my dignity, my future. What I want to say to anyone reading this is don't ignore the red flags. Don't settle for someone who manipulates, lies, or treats you like you're nothing. If you find yourself in a situation where your partner is cheating or lying, don't be a fool. Get out. Protect yourself. Because trust me, once it's gone, it's almost impossible to get back. And no matter how much you love someone, you have to remember that you deserve honesty and respect, things that can't be bought or faked. I don't know what my future holds now. I'm hurting, but I also feel a strange sense of relief. I know I'll heal eventually. I just have to rebuild what I've lost and find someone who actually values me for who I am. That's all I can hope for now.